In this tutorial, I'm going to share my secrets about recording in LoadRunner. Most people think recording is very easy in performance testing, but it is not. Recording is a blend of art and science, irrespective of any tool. This tutorial focuses on recording, and I will share my tips and tricks to record effectively in LoadRunner. Many testers start recording before they do their homework. Homework in the sense they don't practice manually about the application, how it works, and also the tool and browser compatibility. In many forums, most of the questions about recording is, my application is not recording, or my application is not working in this browser. They do not check the product matrix or browser matrix before they start recording in LoadRunner. So before you record anything, you must check whether you have the right tool or not, and your application should be stable, and at least 80% of the functional testing is done, and there are no critical defects. In agile projects, it works differently. At least you should have a small piece of code to get started. Also, people start recording in their first step, but before you start recording, you need to create an Excel sheet to keep track what you are going to do and how you are going to do. So I always create an Excel sheet like this, where I add the script name, I follow some naming convention, and I follow some naming convention for transaction name, and I also add the test data and comments and the checkpoints. If you're having any naming convention, you can start using that, or you can use this kind of naming conventions for your project. So script name always starts with S, and transaction name will have T, and I'm just put a number so that I can identify, and also I can arrange it in the analysis. And in the test data, I just add the URL and the test data, what test data I'm going to use during recording, and also I check for each transaction what is the validation point or checkpoint. For example, if I take first home page load transaction, I check for the page title. So in the subsequent build, if anything changes, if my script fails, I can easily identify what changed and what not. And also, before you start recording, practice manually at least twice or thrice, so that during recording you will not face any issues, and you will repeat the same flow, which will help you to identify the correlation. So now we'll jump into LoadRunner tool. So go to File, New Script and Solution, and select the appropriate protocol. So in this case, I'm going to focus only on web HTTP HTML protocol. Click on Create, and click on this record button, or press Ctrl+R. So I'm going to record my application in Chrome, and in the URL address I have entered the URL which I'm going to record. And before you start recording, click on Recording Options. The first secret is always use defaults. Don't change any settings. Start recording with use defaults first for all the options. Okay. Now click on OK and try to record whether your application is being recorded or not. If you face any challenges, then you need to start tweaking the recording options. So mostly I focus these areas. One is recording. First I try with HTML based script, and inside HTML advanced, I always go script describing user actions and do not record. So mainly I prefer not to record any non-HTML generator resources. Again, it depends upon the application you are testing. But I always select these two options: a script describing user actions and non-HTML generated elements as do not record. And next is script. I always go with close all AUT processes when recording stops. So this is the option I use. And if you're not familiar with any of these options, you can go for use defaults. And protocols, again, I'm going to use only a single protocol. That's why it is showing only one protocol here. And code generation, let it be default. And configuration also, I go with default first. And rules, I prefer not to use rules unless I know the application, what it is being generated from the server side. So I always uncheck this, and if there is a need to create a rule, I'll create a rule, but not in the first recording phase. And in advanced, I always go with use defaults, and if something is wrong, I will check use the LoadRunner proxy to record a local application. So we can try with this as well. And mapping and filtering, first go with socket level data, which is the HP proprietary protocol port mapping capture level. If something is not working, you can try with Win98, or you can try with socket level and Win98 level. But here's the catch. If you click on options here, you can see there are two checkboxes: enable auto SSL detection and enable auto detection of socket based communication. So here in one of my earlier projects, the script was working for the TLS NPN, and also it works with SSL. But after a couple releases, it was not recording anything. And when I changed TLS to ALPN, it started recording. So you can just Google it for what is TLS ALPN and TLS NPN in Wikipedia, so that you can know what it is. And always play with these values: TLS ALPN or TLS or SSL. And if you are recording any socket based communication, you can play with these values if something is not recording, not captured during the initial stages. On the log level, I go with debug mode. If you're not familiar with any of these options, you can go for the default one. In some cases, if the debug is not helpful, I select advanced debug and click on update, and do not change anything in the chain configuration and the code generation. So mainly I focus mapping and filtering, recording mainly, and advanced use the LoadRunner proxy to record application. So mainly you will be testing in-house applications. So always try with use the LoadRunner proxy to record a local application. So which will provide an alternate way to record if the standard recording mechanism is not compatible. And in the mapping and filtering, you can add a new entry as well, and you can change it here. What's the connection type to SSL recording proxy? So again here you can select TLLPN. So this is the specific entries you can add it in the socket and mapping and filtering area. And if you want to install any certificates, you can install the certificates here and the password. So just add an entry here if something is not working in your recording. So now I'm going to use the default options. And start recording. So now it is loading the home page. So what I'll do is I'll just wait till the events is at least static, which means it's not changing very frequently. So while recording, always navigate slowly and wait for the events to be completed, then proceed with the next step. And if you're using Internet Explorer, sometimes it will go to not responding, so I prefer Chrome browser to record it first. So now here you could see the events is still being captured and the page is not loaded completely. So wait for the numbers to be static at least. So now the page has loaded completely, and here there is no loading icon. It's just the actual page icon has come. So now you can start with the second transaction. So copy this, click on insert transaction, then click on OK. Now my test data is recording options. So just enter this and click on search. So again the events started recording. Here you could see number is still changing. So now it is almost static. Now end the transaction. Now insert the third transaction. And click on the first link. So now once the events is almost static, not changing frequently, click on end transaction. So now stop the recording and go to your LoadRunner. Okay, so this is the way you record it in LoadRunner. I hope my tips is helpful to you. If you have any suggestions, you can mention in the comment. Thanks. In next tutorial, we will see how to clean up the script and how to replay it successfully. Thank you.